All-star games are meant to consist out of the best players from the league, and in the NBA, that's usually the case. Sometimes you will get somebody voted in by their previous fame, especially when the big stars and all-time basketball legends come near the end of their career and can't put up their usual numbers every night. But those exceptions are normal, and those players can still put on a show for one game. On the other hand, some choices were made over the years that can't really be explained. So we put up the task of compiling the list of 10 of the worst NBA players to be in the All-Star game. Most of these players have only had that one appearance in the All-Stars, but still, reasons on why they were picked still seem elusive after the years. Before we start, I'd like to welcome you to Hoop Nation, where we cover everything NBA. Be sure to give us a like and hit that subscribe button. Antonio Davis. Even though Davis had a nice NBA career that lasted for almost 2 decades, his one and only All-Star Game appearance in 2001 came as a bit of a surprise. He did have his best personal season so far with the Raptors, averaging 13.7 points and 10.1 rebounds, reaching the second round of the playoffs, only to lose to the Allen Iverson 76ers in a tight and memorable series. But all of that doesn't really seem to be enough to get him to be called to the All-Star Game, and never really showed before or after that he's on the All-Star level. Jamaal Magga. Magga was remembered as a decent big man in the NBA at his best, and even though he managed to stay in the league for a decade, he never really showed much of the potential to be an All-Star. So it seems unbelievable that he was voted in the NBA All-Star Game by the fans in 2004. During that season, he averaged 13.6 points and 10.3 rebounds per game, with catastrophic field goal percentages. But that year, there were no other big men in the East, so it's no wonder that mediocre picks were made. Dale Davis. Another big man that was simply a good, average hustle player without any fancy moves and skills, but had the luck to have an empty conference on his spot to grab that All-Star spot. Dale Davis clinched his opportunity in 2000 while playing for the Indiana Pacers. He was an okay player, but nowhere near the All-Star player that we have in mind when we think of this game. But I guess you have to have some luck in your life as well. Brad Miller. Some players are just meant to be forgotten. Brad Miller somehow managed to get 2 All-Star games in 2003 and 2004. He never averaged more than 15 points per season and averaged more than 10 rebounds only once in his career. It's unclear what made him an All-Star for 2 consecutive seasons, but oh well. Wally Szczerbiak. Good old Wally got selected for the All-Star game in 2002 after 2 good seasons with the Minnesota Timberwolves, and looked like he was on the path as a prolific deep-range shooter. But he never managed to get to the next level, staying in the league and playing as a 3-point specialist and a good role player. Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson in his day was one of the best point guards the league has ever seen. But when he went into decline, it was rapid. His 2010 All-Star Game appearance was in no way justified by his games, because he never hardly played during that season due to injuries. Fans realized that it was a farewell year of AI and voted him into the All-Star Game, where he didn't belong for several years, and for a reason. It's probably for the best that he didn't play in the game due to injury. Anthony Mason. 2001 All-Star Game is widely considered as the worst All-Star Game in the history of the NBA, especially when we look at the Eastern Conference. Anthony Mason was famous for his hustle on the court, and his character easily won over the Heat fans, which voted him into the All-Star Game in 2001. But the reality is that he never really deserved his spot with his finesse and playing style. Tyrone Hill. Nobody can explain how Tyrone Hill got into the 1995 All-Star Game, even though it was his best year of his career, as we would later find out, and he was still a young player. It's somewhat reasonable on why he was picked, but his season averages of 10.9 rebounds and 13.8 points from that year don't really paint a picture of a force in the paint that's destroying other players. Chris Gatling. Gatling, even though was a good role player and brought an efficient play from the bench, was an image of the moving player. He got traded 9 times in his 5 last seasons in the NBA. During that time, he played a massive role with the Dallas Mavericks, where he averaged almost 19 points and 8 rebounds per game, leading that team in their success. But he never repeated that success before or after that season. B.J. Armstrong. When you think of Jordan's Bulls, Armstrong is not really one of the top 5 players. Yet, When MJ went on to play baseball for 2 years, BJ tried to become a leader of that team. It wasn't that bad after all. But when you have Pippen in the team and a looming Jordan return, you can't hope for more than being the third best. And in 1994, Bulls fans were desperate to find themselves a new Jordan to lead the team, which led them to voting Armstrong to his only All-Star game. Thanks for watching the video. As always, make sure you give us a like and subscribe to the channel for future content. And until next time, I'll see you on the court.